This is an ABC News special report. Now reporting, David Muir.
Good afternoon, and we are coming on the air at this hour with breaking news, and it's difficult. The latest details in the bomb attack outside the airport in Kabul. We have just learned from the Pentagon, this is their statement, we can confirm that a number of U.S. service members were killed at the Kabul airport. A number of others are being treated for wounds. A number of Afghans fell victim to this heinous attack. You're looking at the very difficult pictures coming in from the scene, and we warn you, many of these images are graphic. A suspected suicide bomber detonating near the Abbey Gate at the airport. That's one of the main entrances of the airport. Again, the Pentagon just moments ago reporting a number of U.S. service members were killed at the Kabul airport. That area, of course, packed with Afghan people desperate to get out of the country. The Pentagon calling this a complex attack just 5 days before the U.S. deadline to withdraw from Afghanistan. Kabul Emergency Hospital at this hour telling ABC News it has received about 60 wounded people so far. There was a second explosion. That additional explosion happened near the Baron Hotel not far from the airport. The U.S. has been warning of a potential attack like this for several days now. They were concerned about ISIS-K, an ISIS affiliate there in Afghanistan, a sworn enemy of the Taliban as well. No group has claimed responsibility as of yet. The U.S. had been controlling the airport, Taliban fighters controlling the perimeter outside the airport. President Biden, for much of this day, in the Situation Room at the White House this morning, now in the Oval, he had repeatedly said that there was great risk in this mission, that this was a dangerous mission, which is why he continued to say the goal for his administration was that August 31st deadline. Amid growing pressure from some leaders around the world, some of our allies, to extend that deadline, the president has maintained the longer the U.S. remains in Kabul, the greater the risk. We have seen that risk play out in real time. I want to bring in our senior foreign correspondent, Ian Pannell. And again, Ian, for viewers just joining us, as we're on the air at this hour, the very difficult headline from the Pentagon moments ago. We can confirm the Pentagon saying a number of U.S. service members were killed at the Kabul airport. And Ian, you've been reporting from the ground in Kabul for many days. I know you're now in Qatar after having flown from the airport to Qatar. And this was precisely what U.S. authorities were so concerned about.
Yeah, David, this almost defies words. It's bewildering, it's horrifying. It was already a very distressing scene down at the airport yesterday. We were at the Abbey Gate on that very spot where the blast happened. We saw US troops, US Marines, British soldiers, others, State Department officials risking their lives to go right up to the front line there to rescue individuals. We were in the watchtower right by that site, which you can see in the backdrop of one of those horrifying videos with the Marines. And there was an American passport holder down in the crowd, waving his blue passport. The Marines were shouting, "Come to Abbey Gate, we'll go and get you and pull you in." And that's the reality of how this operation was being carried out. It relied on the bravery of individuals, of servicemen and women going to the very front lines, going out, grabbing people who are eligible and pulling them into that gate. It was a difficult moment. There were thousands and thousands of people there, knee-deep in sewage water, all crammed cheek by jowl there. Anyone who got into that crowd and detonated a device was sure to carry out mass casualty event, and that appears to be what we had. I mean, we filmed on that very footpath where the blast took place. We saw Marines stood on that wall right next to where the blast took place, talking to people in the crowd, trying to reassure them, trying to identify those who were eligible from those who weren't. The president was absolutely right. This was a difficult and dangerous mission, and this has been underlined. The Taliban have issued a statement essentially also condemning the attack, but saying, well, the Americans were in charge of the perimeter. I mean, that's totally untrue. This bomb blast happened right outside the gate. The onus also depends on the Taliban for not controlling the crowds, for not allowing people through, for creating this climate of fear and dread that led to those crowds gathered there in such great numbers, in such distress. Already people were fearful for their lives yesterday. Already people felt this was their only option. They were ready to risk everything just to try and get through. Many clutching papers saying they had the right to come through. They've been told by the State Department. And today it just got worse. Those gates, we think, are now closed. What it means for the evacuation mission, we don't quite know, but it's hard to continue that process when everybody involved has been so affected by what's going on. I spoke to one State Department official who's based there on the ground, telling me all their staff are okay, but they're all just in shock.
And in fact, Ian, just after we were on the air last night with the broadcast, there was the warning from the U.S. State Department for Americans in Kabul and in that region to go back home. And that was the clearest indication yet that they were studying and tracking intelligence on the ground, that this threat was a very real one and that it was increasing with every hour that U.S. troops were on the ground there.
Yes, that's right. I mean, we've heard repeated warnings over the last week or two of the threats and urging people to just wait until they're called, wait until they're contacted. But of course, the political decisions that are made, for whatever reason, this isn't a time for any kind of judgment, but that of course accelerated that sense of panic, the sense that time was running out, to the need to try and get to the airport. We also know that the Taliban, as they advanced across the country, they didn't just take cities, they also entered the prisons. And those prisons didn't just have Taliban inmates, they also had criminals, and they also had ISIS affiliates in there as well.
And of course, the Taliban had promised the U.S. in these negotiations, not only during this administration, but the prior administration, that they would prevent that country from being any kind of haven for terror. And we have already witnessed terror unfolding in these last 24 hours. Ian, I want to ask you one more question, and if we could go back to the map showing this location, because as you just explained to our viewers, you were actually right there outside the gate in this area reporting from the ground. Give us an idea of how close that gate actually is to the Barron Hotel, the scene of that second attack. This is a fairly close proximity, is it not?
Yes, that's right. So there is a huge sort of 20-foot high metal gate there, but they were going beyond that gate, and then there is a chain link fence, and there was a little cutting in it, and people were going through that cutting right down onto where the sewage canal is. So there's a towpath on one side, which is the American base side. They have the sewage canal, and the other side is where most people were gathered. That's where it looks like the bomb blast took place. But everyone is so confined in a small area. And as I say, we saw soldiers, Marines constantly going out on this tiny path. I mean, we had to wait just to go through the small cutting to allow people out and people in, refugees, soldiers, Marines. And that's why, if an incident took place in that confined area, it would be so devastating. Other gates are much quieter, but Abbey Gate was the one where the Americans were. The gate near the Barron was one where British paratroopers were based.
Ian, panel, stick with us here as we continue to look at these images coming in from Afghanistan. And again, I just want to let you know at home that many of them are extremely difficult to watch, but this is the reality playing out on the ground right outside the Kabul airport, where 2 attacks have now taken the lives of several people at the scene. We are staying away from numbers here at ABC News out of an abundance of caution. There have been some reports out there, but it is just far too early for us to put a number on this until we hear from the Pentagon ourselves. What we can report at this hour is what I said right off the top, that a number of U.S. service members were killed at the Kabul airport. A number of others are being treated for wounds. We're also told by the Pentagon that a number of Afghans fell victim to this heinous attack. I want to bring in ABC's Chief Global Affairs Correspondent, Martha Raddatz. And Martha, it's impossible to overstate the bravery of our U.S. Marines who are on the ground, U.S. servicemen and women who have been assigned this very dangerous task. And it's something the President has said was dangerous for many days now. He had also said this was his chief concern, that there could be an attack from ISIS, ISIS-K, or other terror groups that they were tracking intelligence on in recent days.
And David, they've been tracking that, I am certain, for about a week or more, and these were very, very serious threats. The Pentagon was concerned about a suicide vest and a suicide vehicle both were major concerns. They say this was a complex attack, and that generally means there was a suicide vest. There might have been another one, and gunfire after that. And we are not certain at this point whether the gunfire was people firing at the suicide bomber before they detonated, or it was just a general gunfight and there were others from ISIS in that crowd. But as you said, David, 6,000 U.S. forces are there, Army, Marine Corps, are all there trying to help American citizens and Afghan allies get out of Afghanistan, get out of Kabul. We've seen those very heartwarming videos of Marines and soldiers talking to families, holding up children, passing children over razor wire and taking care of them, smiles on their faces, giving water to young Afghan boys and girls. It is a tragic situation. It is one that, as late as this morning, about 2 hours before this bomb blast, the State Department, the ambassador was saying there is an imminent attack. There is an imminent attack. They warned people, get away from the airport last night. They were tracking this intelligence, not able to stop it, but surely those alerts saved some lives anyway, David.
And Martha, this is an impossible question to answer, but it is the obvious question at this point. How does this administration continue this mission with just days left and now these heinous attacks playing out one after the other? And as we know, that August 31st deadline is already just days away, and it takes an amount of time, obviously, to get the military out by that deadline as well. This makes moving forward very delicate, very dangerous, and extremely complicated.
And I think they're going to tell everyone to stay away from the airport for now, for sure. The only way I can see this happening, and obviously they will prioritize American citizens and green card holders, but to have some sort of meeting point and perhaps somehow pick them up, whether that's in helicopters. We've seen 3 missions in the last week with helicopters picking up people stranded in the city. But for now, that airport is not going to have anyone going through any of these main gates. Obviously, it complicates this mission, but the president has been firm on that August 31st deadline, and they probably are moving that up.
All right, Martha Raddatz and Ian Pannell, our thanks to both of you who have been with me every step of the way on this story. And if and when we hear from President Biden on this, or the Biden administration, their reaction to the news on the ground that we have now lost a number of U.S. service members killed at Kabul airport in this attack, confirmed by the Pentagon. Once we hear from the president or any sort of strong language from the White House, their reaction and how we move forward with this mission in Afghanistan, we will bring it to you. In the meantime, our coverage continues on ABC News Live, abcnews.com, and of course, I'll be back with the entire team for a special edition of World News Tonight. I'm David Muir. We'll see you then. Good day.
This has been a special report from ABC News.